Hello, folks. We're back on air with another episode of the Retail Perch, and the guests just seem to be getting better as the leaves turn beautiful colors here on the East Coast. And Gary, how are you doing out there? Any snow in Denver yet?
There's certainly snow up in the mountains and a lot more leaves on the ground. So winter is coming this way pretty fast.
Anyway, I want to thank all the listeners out there for continuing to support us, and we continue to run into some amazing people who agree to be on the Retail Perch. So, and we have superstars really this weekend. I mean, I think to use the word pioneers is light on these folks. They have created industries and transformed stuff. And to have Andrew and Thomas Parkinson here as guests on the Retail Perch is going to be a fantastic treat. So I'd say if you're listening to this episode, if you're driving, pull over, stop and listen, because this is going to be fun. Okay. So with that, I want to introduce Andrew and Thomas Parkinson. The less I tell you about them, the better, because they just have stellar backgrounds. And so Andrew, Thomas, whoever wants to go first, just tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, the amazing stuff you've done, and we can dive into the topics.
Well, I'll let my older brother go first.
He always seems to defer. But first of all, Shekar and Gary, thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the term superstar. Sometimes we feel more like pioneers with arrows on our back, but having us on the podcast. You know, my background actually very similar to Thomas in some ways. I started out of college at Procter & Gamble in brand management, then went on to Kraft Foods. While there, that was like 1982 or 83, we saw that a lot of people disliked grocery shopping, or actually physically going to the store. And we also saw that a lot of the dollars being spent were by the CPGs in marketing and advertising. So after Kraft, or I went from P&G to Kraft. After that, you know, we saw an opportunity to basically create Peapod, which was in our minds, going to be a media where people would be shopping for their groceries online. And this was like 1989 via, you know, an online client over a modem. And that would provide us with the opportunity to promote product.
Hang on. Stop. You said over modem?
Yeah. So
modem.
Yeah. So 1989.
1989. This is pre-internet, really.
Yeah. This
Oh,
was
yeah. It was way
before,
before,
before Al Gore invented it. But yes, basically it was right around the same time that AOL and Prodigy were launched. So client base, you use the client to dial up over a modem. So maybe a little bit before there was deep penetration of modems at that point. But
I'll have to send you some pictures of our modem rack that I built out of a Crate and Barrel wine rack, and then stuck the modems in it. And then we had a Dell 386 server that 16 modems were connected into that people would dial up into. So,
oh my God, you have to send it to us. We're going to put that in the YouTube version of this podcast. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny because it was right at the same time. I don't know if you guys remember Prodigy, but Prodigy was an IBM product, and the guys from IBM came out to visit us because they saw our first version, which was DOS based, and it was really fast. And we were working with Jewel Foods at that point to you know, shop in store and deliver. But it was so fast that they thought we were using some kind of mainframe. So they came out to visit with the intention of maybe, you know, making an offer on Peapod. And the first thing they asked was to see our mainframe in our data room, and it was basically the wine rack.
My Dell 386 on the desk.
That's great.
I said, no, you can't go into the data center. No.
So anyway, that's, you know, we started right after I was working at Kraft. Thomas also can introduce himself, but he was working at P&G as well in sales, but then started a software company way back in the early 80s that was basically building a relational database at the same time Oracle and Informix were. And so he had kind of the technical skills, and I had more of the marketing side, business side of the skill set. And we launched Peapod in 1989, really with the idea of helping people grocery shop, a chore that they didn't like, but also creating a media that we could promote products to people that we but that they thought would be, helpful to them. So it was all about convenience and trying to make it a better shopping experience for the customer. So we did Peapod, we took that public in like 1997, and then we sold it to Ahold in 2002, I believe. And while doing Peapod, we were kind of passionate about wanting to help people shop by diet, but really struggled with the quality of the data out there, the label data basically, because you needed good label data in order to be able to tag it by specific diets. So we started a company called Item Master inside Peapod, which we eventually spun out, which captured the product label data and then syndicated it out to retailers. Well, that was fine, but then we found that most retailers weren't able to take that data and turn it into a functional product that helped consumers match their dietary profile to the specific ingredients and dietary attributes. So we sold Item Master to Syndigo, which was Gladson back then, and started Sifter really with the idea of making healthy eating easy for everyone. And we can talk a little bit more about Sifter as we go, but I'll let my brother introduce himself.
Well, I don't know if I got much more to say, no, but I mean, my background is after I was a studio art major in college, and then I went to Procter & Gamble in sales. And then I left Procter & Gamble and started that software company. And it was specifically, once it was kind of leading edge too. It was a software for executive recruiters and employment agencies. It was resume search and retrieval based on a job description. So we were really early. That was 84 to.
This is like the early version of Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely monster. And so we sold that company in 88. And then I took a year off and traveled the world by myself. And then I came back, and that's when Andrew and I then started formulating Peapod. And I think one of the funny things was Andrew was like, okay, now can we do something with can the interface have lines on it? Can there be lines and stuff? I'm like, don't worry, bro. I can make it look really good.
Well, that's because it was DOS. It was DOS then. Windows hadn't been
DOS based, so
yeah,
but you could do a lot with ASCII characters. And when I send you the pictures,
the curses library, right?
right. Anyways, we wrote all our own software. We gave out discs to the customer. They loaded the software up, and then it dialed up. And then we were connected to the Joule mainframe, where we got a price feed every day, and then applied that to our database. So we had accurate pricing, which was amazing back in 1990. And the customer then placed the order. And then our employees, they look pretty much like Instacart people, but they wore smocks, and they were just shopping in the Joule in Evanston, Illinois was our first place. So they shopped, and then we put them into people's cars, because Andrew, he forgot to tell you that he worked for Domino's Pizza for a while to learn home delivery. And so we did delivery right from the store. So we could put max 3 orders in a car and deliver it around the neighborhood. So we weren't delivering in vans, actually. We built the whole company delivering in drivers' cars.
Wow,
So,
and how many cars did you have going around?
Well, Andrew, what did we grow to?
We were in a lot of markets, because we were with Kroger in Columbus and Indy, and then we were with Safeway back then, which was Houston, Dallas, and then we were in San Francisco.
Yep.
Then we were with Boston and with Stop and Shop and Giant Foods, both giants.
Wow.
So we had a lot of, but eventually we started, what we found, we were shopping out of stores. It became congested because we were doing good business. And it was hard to make money, to be honest. And we can talk about this later too, but with same day delivery or 1 hour delivery, it's very difficult to make money. So we had to develop a route delivery system, which landed up buying trucks and getting out of the car business and building warehouses.
Right.
A lot of the warehouse, some big automated warehouses and some very small that we called warerooms, because they were attached to the Stop and Shop store, but very similar to the micro fulfillment warehouses they talk about today. So I think route delivery was a real key in our ability to actually, Peapod became profitable as a company based on the fulfillment logistics, but also the route delivery that we provided.
Yeah, I mean, we could put 22 orders, 24 orders on a truck with one driver, but this was all next day delivery. So we developed a profitable next day delivery model. Everything was going really well. And then it's like the ghosts from the past show up and Instacart shows up and they're once again doing our model that we just got out of, which is getting people to shop in the store and deliver it to people's homes and lose money.
Right.
So it's just it was just really strange to see it happen. But that hurt us because, that made it difficult because now suddenly you had same day delivery again, which we used to do. But the quality is not as good. It's not delivered in coolers. So, but as we grew, Peapod and Ahold bought us. So that didn't happen obviously till what, 8 years ago, when Instacart came out. But before that, we expanded all over with warehouses, route delivery. It was big production. And the last warehouse we built was 350,000 square feet in Jersey City. It was a very,
Wow.
very automated facility.
Well, and,
Wow.
and somewhere in there was Webvan, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, so that was another interesting moment. I forget exactly what year that was, but it was
97 up to 2000.
so after we had gone public. And I think in a lot of these cases, as you guys know, venture capital has been fueling a lot of the subsidy to the consumer. And now the model is getting a little tougher when you actually have to make money or have a model that makes money, which means it's why you're seeing that turn toward the media networks and places where you have higher margins. But I do know that George Shaheen was running Webvan, and when we at some point we got a call from him because they were running out of money and they wanted to see if there would be a partnership. But they took the approach of build it and they will come, and we always took the approach of incremental building, meaning one city at a time, actually one small area at a time, get it to be profitable and then go to the next place. So we weren't burning cash the way the others have been burning cash, and Webvan was burning a lot of cash at that point. So I think they went out of business, but it did put pressure. When you're getting subsidized by investment dollars and you offer no delivery fee or low delivery fees, guys that are trying to compete, it's not always that simple.
Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing. I don't know if you've seen a series on AMC called *Halt and Catch Fire*, but if you haven't, it's about the computer industry, tracing it from the mid '70s through the internet age, and it almost seems like, speaking to you guys have kind of seen the birth of e-commerce, dial-up commerce, really, more than e-commerce, right? Dial-up commerce all the way to now, and you've seen the transitions. And so, are you seeing some of the mistakes that you made earlier that you corrected being made again?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole, yes. I mean,
The whole Instacart thing with the shoppers.
The biggest mistake is the customer proposition that they're offering. So, this 30-minute delivery. So you've got teeny little orders with no gross profit in it. You're never going to make money. And then we were doing 3-hour lead times and 1.5-hour delivery windows, and out of a store. So that was less aggressive, and it was a challenge to make money till we moved to warehouses and did next day with trucks and
Do you think it's because of customer expectation, or is it because of competition where you feel that that's the edge that you have?
I don't think it's customer expectation, to be honest. I think, yes, there's certain things they want right away, but in general, grocery shopping is a planned event. And so I don't think, planning it the night before is such a terrible thing. But if you offer it, now you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
It's like, it's like if you asked a customer, would you like lower prices? So,
Yeah.
Right.
Who's going to say no?
Yeah, who
Right.
can?
I think what's interesting, I think, the play now is make your money on the media network and on the advertising to subsidize the losses. But when you look at the average order sizes of same day versus what we had in kind of next day route delivery, we were running over $150 per order. I just read something where they're averaging, and I don't know if you produced this, I think you might have, Gary, but $30 per order. I saw some research on these same days. So $30 per order is just not going to have enough gross margin to cover your picking and your fulfillment costs and all your corporate overheads and everything.
Right.
So it's a little mystery of where that's all going to go. Unless you can make money on the ad network, and then of course there's a lot of conflict there between the retailers, who view that as their dollars, and the media networks that are not internal to the retailer.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of retailers now shift to owning their own in-house retail media network. I saw a recent announcement.
Right. My former company, Ahold.
Ahold,
exactly.
Yeah, and of course Walmart and Albertsons.
Yeah, and I think certainly the bigger guys have in part gotten into the media network business to help subsidize their e-commerce costs, right, as they continue to build that out and search for efficiency.
Right. Yes, for sure.
I mean, the media, and I'll send you a picture so I'm telling the truth, but from 1990, we had ads and electronic coupons. So media was very much a part of our economic model. We just weren't big enough, but we were out there selling it. And it wasn't until we got larger, and also we teamed up with My Web Grocer at some point, who was the larger sales team that could get out there and sell. And we became part of their network, which was a bigger set of retailers. So that then really started to turn the corner for us. And then sponsored products was the biggest winner when it came to, it's just amazing. So, that's where you are within. If someone searches for something, you get some placements inside the product search. So.
Right. So before we move on to the next topic question, so where do you think e-commerce is heading? We saw during the pandemic, of course, it exploded, and retailers were kind of really running around trying to figure out a solution to service their customers. I guess the sales e-commerce peaked right around maybe October, November 2020, early 21, and now you're starting to see it kind of flatten out. Do you see it steadily growing back up? What do you think?
I think this is my view. I think the home delivery and pickup will grow at some reasonable growth rate, 10-15% over time. But what intrigues me the most really is the fact that all of us, including Peapod, we were focused only on e-commerce for so many years. And I think the focus now, and this is what Sifter's focused on, is the in-store customer as well, because technology can be used to help them make decisions at the point of purchase, at the shelf. So I think all this, you're starting to see a little bit of a shift towards in-store and how technology can help. We're definitely focused kind of more on in-store, even though we work for online, but helping the customer there. So I think you'll start seeing that shift, just because e-commerce delivery and pickup will start to flatten a little bit and is only 10 to 15% of the volume. So like for these media networks, you're going to have some kind of form in store to promote, or, products that fit someone's specific, diet or issues.
Right.
And one other thing that held back Peapod's growth is our business requires a lot of infrastructure. It requires hiring a lot of people, and it has peaks and valleys of demand. So if, for instance, hiring drivers, like you need them on the weekends, but like Wednesday and Thursday, there was very little demand. So you can't hire them full time. And then for hiring, people, selectors, we call them selectors, people who shop the groceries in the warehouses, they're hard to scale up. You got to build the warehouses. So you couldn't just turn on the spigot like the way Amazon did, because they used UPS, and they outsourced all their logistics in the beginning so that they could just grow really fast. We couldn't do that. There was no way to outsource it all. So we were like and it was like 15% growth every year, because we just couldn't expand the infrastructure fast enough with the amount of capital that we had. And we didn't want to make the same mistakes as Webvan. So, but one thing I'll say, when we started our next company after Peapod, I said to my brother, okay, there's two things. Okay, we are never going to deliver a physical good again in our lives. And no HR department.
Well, we actually do have HR.
We do have an HR person. Okay,
This is
so
great.
thank you, Kate. Appreciate it.
So Kate, if you're listening, I guess, you spared them a lot of grief. So anyway, so That's true. That was Peapod, obviously great learnings, and you figured out some things in terms of a business that can scale and bring value over a continued period of time. So you started Item Master, and I guess you said, like you said, the motivation was it just wasn't good enough labeled data, and you were trying to create some data store which would provide, the raw material to draw insights, and right.
Exactly. So that you could filter and sort by ingredients, nutrition. You can't do that in a dependable way, and a way that consumers trust if you don't have good core data.
Right.
And then
it was also the economic model, because we were a retailer and we were paying for the data at the time. And I was like, well, why aren't the CPG companies paying for it and then giving it to us? So that's when, we had the idea, well, let's create an exchange where they can upload all their information, and then we distribute it to all retailers. So the only problem was that they didn't have the CPGs didn't have the data either. So we then started capturing it with cameras and outsourcing all the OCR and QA and everything. So then we were suddenly competing with companies like Gladson and others. But our passion was 6 images. It was there with the GS1 standard was 6 images, all the product data from the package, and make it super accurate. So we were really, really good at capturing the absolute packaging data that we then were able to distribute to the consumers.
And you kept that updated as the CPGs changed packaging, and because that happens constantly.
That's hard. I mean, that's still a struggle today, but that's part of why we wanted to create an application that consumers could use, the data that consumers could use, because the more it's being used, the more important it is to the CPGs to provide good data into the network. It was frustrating in the sense that we were providing really great data, but no one was creating an application that could match someone's diet to their to the products, the branded products or the private label products. So that's really why we said, okay, we need to do it ourselves, because we had the Peapod experience of building a scalable online service. We had the data experience in Item Master, and combining those two, we were lucky to be able to recruit the best in the industry from Peapod and from Item Master. Judy Sebold on the nutrition side, and Tim Franklin, our CTO, and John Wilson, who's our head of data, and John Furden, who ran operations at both Peapod and Item Master. So we brought the whole team together.
Lord Zanek, who ran all the product data at Peapod. It's awesome.
Yeah, and our QA, Olga. It's just we have a ton of great people when we knew how great they are, because we'd worked with them before.
Right.
The launch, get Sifter off the ground. And so a lot of people misunderstand kind of what we're trying to do at Sifter, because while we built a consumer-facing app, in a lot of ways, it's just a demonstration of the power of what any platform can do with our data. So we make all of our data, we make all of our functionality like Recipe Sifter, Scan by Diet available to any retailer, health platform, recipe platform that wants to use that data to help their clients, customers, patients, eat more healthily. So we're really a B2B2C company, not a B2C.
You're an enabler, really, of experience. Right.
But we just built a scalable functionality so that it's easier, and the API, so it's easier for other platforms like retailers to build it into their own platforms.
I think we're a lot like Intel Inside, that's where that.
Correct.
And the one thing that's really key about us is the technology that we put in place is highly scalable. And so we're an API first company. So all those APIs that are accessible to put these features into your product, it has to be super scalable. So something we knew a little bit about from Peapod. So all architects do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, Birdzi would be a great client of ours.
And I forgot to mention this. I think, Gary, first when my co-founder Frank and I were starting Birdzi, and we were looking at applications that we could use we were initially in the product location and helping shoppers map stores and stuff. Yep. So we were looking at a model application that we could build, or we could overlay our capability. And guess which application we picked up? That was the inspiration. It was the Peapod app. Right? So we looked at the Peapod app and said, what if we could add in-store location of product to this? So essentially, we look at that design. I'm going to confess, we ripped it off and we said, hey, let's add product location to this. Well, this is a public acknowledgement of the fact that we were inspired by you guys. But
well, thank
awesome.
you. But it is design is a circular thing. As you look at your competitor, then you kind of copy some of them, then they look at you and they copy some of them. And what goes around comes around when it comes to that. So
yeah, that's how things get better, right? There are always people smarter than you. As long as you acknowledge that, you're able to learn and improve, and hopefully cover your blind spots in some way. And
right.
I've always seen everything that you guys have created. I didn't know it was you, but Peapod, Item Master, I thought that was just fantastic services, which just enabled, because data is something that we talk about on the show a lot. And Gary and I spend a lot of time, and we keep trying to emphasize to retailers that, with all the new technologies and capabilities that are out there, they're useless if you don't have good data, right? Having data in good, standardized, normalized, clean formats, whether it's transaction data, product attribution data, all of that is so critical, because without that, a machine really can't do much. You can't use all these latest technologies.
I think not only is the core data and the attribute data really important, but what I think is really cool about what we're doing with Sifter is it's first party data, in the sense that the consumer is telling us what they are interested in based on what their diet is. So we're not analyzing necessarily post-purchase data.
Correct.
Telling us I'm gluten-free and I'm a diabetic and I'm non-dairy. Products that fit. So for the retailer, or for anyone analyzing, what to target to that customer, it's goldmine from that perspective.
Yes.
I like to call it intent-based personalization, right?
Yeah, intent. Yeah,
so, completely. So it's your, there's nothing better than somebody telling you what they want.
Yeah.
That's the best way to personalize.
And I think that's where we have to be also careful, because like I've seen Google and Amazon become like a goat rodeo of advertising, irrelevant advertising. So I want to make sure, as we work with retailers and other platforms, that they use the data to recommend products that fit a customer and not things that are irrelevant to the customer. So that's I think the huge opportunity here is how to target incentives or ads based on those profiles that the consumer is giving to us.
Yeah, because the health related and nutrition related data that we're speaking of ties back into the earlier discussion on retail media networks, right? That so many retailers are pursuing. You look at a Kroger as a great example. Giving the advertiser access to all that data and the ability to slice and dice that to really fine tune and target their specific audience. And the type of information Sifter produces just helps further that. And I think you're dead on that. The smart retailers will understand the importance of relevancy to the shopper, but there's still way too many retailers to say, write me a check and you can reach whoever you want to.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way for assortment too, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, whether I carry the product in the store or not depends on whether you're going to pay me.
Right.
What the customer needs.
I don't care about the customer.
Yeah. But I think much like healthcare, where a lot of healthcare is becoming outcome focused. I think in retail, I see more and more retailers understanding that the more I can learn about my shoppers and what they like and what they don't want, will actually not only help me become more profitable, it'll also drive loyalty, because it exhibits to the shopper that my retailer gets me. They carry what I want. They're able to recommend product. And I think especially during the last 2 years with COVID, when health awareness just shot up and people are cooking more at home, buying more of their ingredients at home. I think all of this is just come to fore. I love it, actually. I know that's one of the silver linings of whatever happened, is I think people have just become more conscious about what they eat, what they buy, what's on label.
Yeah. And actually, I think it's going to be really helpful for the CPGs, for the brands, because like with Sifter, you can publish your brand story as part of our database. So that brand story can go to any retailer's catalog that wants to take it. so that the consumer can be better informed about the specific benefits of that brand. And of course, they could work with the retailer to target their ads, specifically to customers that benefit from them.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think is really cool that we've worked with CPG on is they wanted to know how they came out with before they launched the product. So they sent us their ingredients and formulation, and we ran it through our algorithms, and we were able to report back to them where do they stand in terms of all these diets. And so we're thinking, well, maybe we make that a product for CPGs where they can just, enter their nutrition and see, and then our algorithms run against it and give them all the attributes.
Kind of like the wind tunnel, let's
yeah, it's like a wind tunnel. Exactly. Great analogy. That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to quote me if you use that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
But we do quote the.
No, this is a quid pro quo. I took something from you.
Yeah, I was going to say that makes up for.
That makes up for it. That's right.
Well, we were always a huge fans of the Wright brothers because we're brothers, obviously.
Yeah.
But we always refer back to the Wright brothers.
There you go. Fantastic. So what's the vision for Sifter? Where do you see it going?
I mean, at least Thomas you can speak, but what I hope is to reach as many people as possible to help them get healthier through food as medicine, and that's why our strategy is really to put our technology in as many platforms as can use it to reach their customers. I mean, it would be a long road for us to build a B2C app, but if you go to a Walmart, an Albertsons, a Kroger who have hundreds of millions of customers, I think we can reach them pretty quickly and really benefit them in terms of finding food that fits their specific diet. And I think that's the other issue out there. Food as medicine is really only been focused on like fruits and vegetables, fresh stuff. But there's tons of other products, dry, refrigerated, frozen, that fits someone's health profile. And we aren't rating products. We're just telling you what's in them and if they match your specific dietary issues. So we want to reach as many people as we can because we think, there's, as you know, a huge health crisis out there, 180 million people with allergens, 60% of US, some kind of chronic disease, whether it's diabetes or hyperintensive or whatever. So that's our goal really, is to be as helpful as we can in the specific area of food as medicine and I think, we're lucky in the sense that we have the background to maybe, pull it off. And we've already built a pretty impressive platform when you look at our APIs and backend and scalability. So I'm pretty hopeful and positive about where we're headed.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think you guys are doing something amazing. So
yeah.
I mean, when we first, the social, like being able to do some sort of social improvement. When we first started Peapod, I was a driver, so I delivered to a lot of people. We were helping housebound people too. It wasn't just, yuppies out there, if that's what they used to call them, young urban professionals. But it was elderly, it was people that, were disabled. That's who we were really helping also, which was just a great feeling. And now I feel like with Sifter, we have a huge mission, to help make this nation healthy again. It's just, so it's a big project, but I feel like we're working really hard, but for a really great purpose. So,
which I don't know, did you guys track the Washington conference on basically food as medicine, food security?
Yeah.
So we're trying to address both actually. We're going to allow you to find products that are eligible for SNAP, EBT, or these food care programs like Fresh Connect, and also bounce those eligible products against your specific dietary attributes.
Nice.
And I think that would be, because a lot of the people who can't afford food also don't have sufficient nutrition. And we can help with both of that, I believe. So
that actually is one of my most exciting things, is that for a healthcare company to issue, say, a diabetes card that's only good on products that are good for you if you have diabetes, and we supply that data. And then when you're at POS, it will only validate that assortment that we're delivering to that card. So, and
that's really cool. I think there's lots of ways. Obviously, I think as we try to build, and that's been one of the things that we've been quite passionate about, trying to build the bridge between healthcare and food retail, right? And there's a huge disconnect, as you know, between the two. The more we can try to build it together, and the more people that can focus on the solution, the faster we get there. Right?
Totally. That's why we should be talking.
I know. That's why we're talking on the Retail Perch, but outside of it as well. But it's been terrific. I mean, the minute I met you at that grocery shop and David reached out to me saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you guys," that was I just jumped on it. I didn't even give him a chance to say, oh, maybe not. No, I said, Peapod, Item Master, Sifter. Of course, I want to meet these guys, and I was just so impressed with you folks. And
I don't know about that. But part of our model, by the way, is because we had the experience of being on the other end, being the Peapod, being hiring vendors. We're really focused on how do we make it a much smarter thing to buy or license from us than to build, because the cost of building what we build, if everyone did it separately, it costs millions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Gary, anything else? This has been fantastic. I mean, for anybody listening to this, is like a history lesson in e-commerce and data management and the whole deal.
Hopefully we didn't talk too much. Sometimes we have a hard time keeping
No, it's been great. I think there will be a lot of listeners out there that will remember a lot of those early days as things developed. I know you were bringing to mind, we were one of the first retailers when I was still practicing retail to offer online. So it brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Some good, some not so good.
It's definitely cyclical.
Yeah, but it seems to me that I know this podcast is episode's almost done, but it seems like there's definitely a lot of points of commonality in terms of where we can definitely continue discussing and bring more solutions to retail. But everybody else who's listening out there, I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as Gary and I have. And as usual, Gary, the 35 minutes just disappears. It's like, What happened? What did I do today? Well, I spoke to Andrew and Thomas. That's what happened. That's how it disappeared. So it's been a great conversation. I appreciate your time here. And Gary, any closing thoughts?
No, thank you guys for being with us. Great conversation.
Thank
you so much. And and by the way, if you send us your addresses, I'm assuming that you guys don't live too far from each other.
No.
Okay. But we will send you the Retail Perch coffee mug. And
thank you.
Yeah, there you go. So Stephanie will send you an email and she'll ask for your mailing addresses and she'll send you a copy of the mug. And next time you get on the show, and after you've conquered a few more mountains, I'll get on and have some coffee together on the show and have another chat.
That sounds great. Well, thank you guys. Yeah, we look forward to hopefully seeing you before too long.
Absolutely.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you. Good talking with you.
Bye-bye.
Make sure to join us every Monday and connect with us at the Retail Perch on Instagram and Facebook.
And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at theretailperch@birdseye.com.
Until next time, this is Shekar.
And this is Gary signing off.